you for a minute about making an entrance.
All right.
You know, as Reggie said, later on, you know, tomorrow we're going to celebrate Easter. But this past Sunday, you know, we celebrated something that was known as the Triumphal Entry.
Mm-hmm.
This has now become one of my favorite stories in the Bible, but when I first read it, especially being a young person, I had issue with it.
All right.
My issue with it was, you know, because in life we love to make entrances. You know, there was a rapper that people listen to by the name of Jay-Z. He got a song and he says, "Allow me to reintroduce myself," and the beat drop. And if you get caught up in it, you know, it'll take you. You know, you look at BET Awards, you watch all these things, and people make grand entrances. The smoke pops, and they come in on these different cars. You know, a few years ago when I went to prom back in 19, none of your business.
All right.
You know, my thing is you couldn't tell me nothing. That was, like I said, that was a few years ago and a few pounds ago. I borrowed my aunt's BMW and I had on this brim hat and I had on this cane, and this suit, and you couldn't tell me nothing. And I made this big grand entrance, and it hurt my feeling because wasn't nobody in the parking lot to see me make the entrance. I done spent all this money, but there was nobody there to watch it. So, you know, man, you know, we didn't have YouTube and camera phones then, so I couldn't even savor the moment. I just have to go by hearsay and just, y'all have to understand what I'm telling you. I'm still a little emotional about that. But, you know, back in that time, you know, and even now sometimes you like to make that interest. Like, you know, I don't care how grown you get, you know, you like to put on that good pair of shoes, put on that good suit.
That's
Ladies,
right.
y'all put on that good hair, whether it's in the drawer or whether you do it. You like to put it on, and you like to, you know, that's that Sunday when you show about 3-4 minutes late because, you know, the spirit moving, but you looking too good, so I got to be seen today.
Oh, wow.
So, don't be done. Amen. Y'all know I ain't lying. So, you know, sometimes you like to make that entrance, especially if you thank you somebody.
Right.
Now, here we have in the triumphal entry, the man who truly was somebody.
Mm-hmm.
The man who was so much of somebody that he was considered to be the Rose of Sharon, the Alpha, the Omega, the beginning, the end, the bright and morning star, the shepherd and bishop of our soul. He had all of these names, and he was getting ready to ride in and make his entrance. And according to Matthew 21, it says, starting at the first verse, when Jesus and his disciples came near Jerusalem, he went to Bethphage on the Mount of Olives and sent 2 of them on ahead. He told them, "Go into the next village where you will at once find a donkey and her colt. Untie the 2 donkeys and bring them to me. If anyone asks why you are doing this, just say, the Lord needs them. He will at once let you have the donkeys." So God's promises came true, just as the prophet had said. "Announce to the people of Jerusalem, your king is coming to you. He is humble and rides on a donkey. He comes on the coat of a donkey." The disciples left and did what Jesus had told them to do. They brought the donkey and his coat and laid some clothes on their backs, and Jesus got on. Many people spread their clothes in the road, while others put down branches which they had cut from trees. Some people walked ahead of Jesus, and others followed behind. They were all shouting, "Hooray for the Son of David. God bless the one who comes in the name of the Lord. Hooray for God in heaven above." Now here it is, my king. The one that I've been waiting on, the one that John, I mean, this man's so bad, he had somebody to come introduce himself. See, you think you all that because you walk around school and you tell folks, "Oh, you don't know me, shawty. You don't know me, folk. You don't know me. You better recognize who I am." You so all that, you got to let everybody know who you are. This man was so all that, God sent somebody before him to introduce himself.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
And here it was, this man who done turned water into wine. He done fed the multitudes with a few fish and a few loaves of bread. He done did all this stuff, and he rides in on a donkey. I was disappointed. You know, because especially before I began to really understand what Jesus was all about, I'm like, here you are, you all that, and you couldn't find no better transportation. You, Jesus, you could have made a Maybach. You could have got a Cadillac or Bentley. You got a
Donkey?
can I just call it what it is in the King James? You got a jackass.
Yeah.
You one of them nice pretty Clydesdales or something that can, trollop in and do you.
A stallion or something.
Right, you feel me, don't you? You got a jackass. You didn't even go get a nice dog. I'm just gonna be real with you. I was getting my car fixed the other day, and this dude came, and the dude who was fixing my car, he had this big Saint Bernard. Now I'm no punk, but the fear is the beginning of knowledge according to the word, and I became very intelligent when that dog walked out. That was a big, huge dog. I mean, when a dog is so big that it don't even go roof, but it goes woof. Like when your bark is articulate, that dog said woof. That dog had 2 valid forms of ID and a social security number. That's how big that dog was. But it's like you didn't even ride in on one of them. You got a donkey.
Okay.
Now, I studied on a donkey. A donkey, first of all, is not an attractive animal. I don't know if you ever really seen a donkey, but a donkey ain't cute at all. And a donkey makes this noise. Again, he didn't have that nice sounding woof like that Saint Bernard. He didn't have a nice neigh like it's just loud and obnoxious. And donkeys are very stubborn. I promise I'm going somewhere. I'm a Baptist preacher. Take me a minute, but if you stay with me, I'm going to get there. A donkey is a stubborn animal. A donkey, you got to fight to control it.
Yes, you do.
So Jesus rode in. He made his grand entrance right before he getting ready to go through all this, where he's about to die and rise for us. You rode into town on a donkey. And like I said, again, as a human, I had an issue with that. It's like, Lord, you fighting to get everybody to believe who you are, but this how you come in. You was already born in a manger. That was suspect. You come about Galilee. If you study about Galilee, Galilee was like the bankhead of the Bible days. It's like, so you didn't come from Buckhead. You didn't come from Alpharetta. You come from Zone 1. I'm from Decatur, so honestly, you come off Camel Road. So you ain't giving me a whole lot to work with, and now you ride in on a jackass. But why this is such a blessing, young people, is when I stand here today, it shows you that God still loves the same method of transportation. Because when he rides in on me, he's still 2,000 years later riding in on a jackass.
All right.
Amen.
Because I'm not the cutest thing in the world, and I think I am. I think I'm kind of fine. That's what my mirror tells me.
All right.
But your mirror might not tell you the same thing about me, and I respect that. But the truth of the matter is, I know I'm a few pounds overweight. I'm bald not because I think it's sexy, but because it just ain't nothing happening up top. It's like that. I'm very flawed. No matter how much I want to tell myself I'm all that, I'm a small piece of that at best. So when I stop sitting up there thinking more highly of myself than I ought, and I really examine myself, I'm all screwed up.
Thank you.
See, I kind of like Jesus. I didn't come from the best side of town. I didn't come from no money. I didn't do none of this. So it's like when I'm looking at all this, I don't speak that well. I stutter like Moses. I got all these issues, but I'm an ordained minister.
Mm-hmm. All right.
God, why? Like I still don't get your MO. I don't get why you chose me, because you could have picked anybody else. But the beautiful thing about it, life got good when I stopped questioning why, and I just surrendered.
Say that.
See, that's a great love. See, this donkey, we just talked about how jacked up donkeys are. But this donkey, all these years later, we still reading about this donkey, not because of who this donkey was, but because who rode in on the donkey. That's why this animal is so popular even to this day, because it was enough for Jesus to ride in on. Whatever your situation is, whether you ain't as smart as everybody else in school, you ain't the most popular person in school, you ain't the most popular person on your job. Somebody may look at you and all they see is just a jackass. But if somebody look at you and think that, rejoice, because you might be the perfect transportation for God to ride in. Because see, because of that jackass, Jesus was able to ride in. Because of that, if Jesus hadn't had that transportation, he might not have been able to go to Golgotha where he died on my sin. Where the song said, living he loved me, dying he saved me, risen he justified me. Remember, see, if it hadn't have been for that transportation, you never know that God may be riding in on, a lot of us are saved now because of God using that jackass as a source of transportation. Somebody in your school might get saved because God is using you as his method of transportation. Somebody on your job might get saved because God is using you for that method of transportation. Somebody in the neighborhood might get set free because God is using you as that method of transportation. So rather than sit there and worry about, I'm not this and I'm not that and I don't look like this and I don't look like that and I can't say it like this, I dare you to just get on your knees and just let God ride in on you. Because see, it wasn't about that donkey, no way. It was about the one that was sitting on that donkey. So when you get in a donkey-like position, speak Jesus. When you get in a donkey-like position, see, when you get on your knees, you're in a good spot then. You're in a good spot when you get on your knees. And when you really get in that donkey-like position, that means you got to get down on your hands. So now you're in an humble state. And that's why some of us don't get blessed, because we don't want to humble ourselves. And a donkey don't move that fast neither. It's just, it just moves slow. But even in that moving slow, and you feel that weight on your back, and you're wondering, how can I carry it? But Jesus said, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And all the while I'm moving slow, I'm moving so slow that Jesus can't help but be saved.
Thank you, God.
So, years later, God said, I'm still wanting to make a triumphal entry. I want to make a triumphal entry in Zone 1. I want to make a triumphal entry in Decatur. I want to make a triumphal entry in this church. But greater than that, God is saying, I want to make a triumphal entry in your soul.
Yes. Amen.
All you got to do is humble yourself
That's it.
and let me ride in. All you got to do is sit there and be available and say, God, you can ride in on me. And like I said, because he rode in on that donkey, so much was able to take place because he rode in. Imagine what can take place in this day and time if you just allow yourself to be God's jackass. God bless you very much.